a lot of people struggle with this idea of networking. It's like a lot of people think it feels kind of like icky, or they don't like it. And I'm curious what your approach to that is. Like, for example, when you attend a conference, what's your approach to connecting with people? How does it work in your mind, and then also like tactically as well?
So in a conference setup, I would generally speaking, I do a couple of things. The first thing is that if there's a specific person, specific profile I want to meet, I will drop them a message ahead of time and I'll try to meet them. But when it comes to general networking, I just tend to talk and form a relationship, whether it's at a superficial level or a deeper level, with whoever I'm naturally drawn to. So I do not force myself to to build a network with people that I'm not generally or easily drawn to. Most
Mhm.
of my networking that I've done in my life has been because I've moved a lot, and because has been that I've put myself out there a lot. So the obviously I've done an executive MBA at in the in the biggest network of executive MBAs in the world, and that's Kellogg at Northwestern, but which also helps building my network. But I've also worked in large banks, and I've been just a social butterfly my entire life, and I think it comes to me quite naturally. The tactics, I really, generally speaking, is just finding someone I'm interested in, and also just forming true relationships most of the time, because I've found out that in 9 out of 10 times I've had something to solve, it's been because of who I know rather than what I know.
Mhm.
Knowledge is key, absolutely, but network beats knowledge, I think.
Mhm.
Um, Very often when it comes to practical life situations.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I feel that too. I think a lot of us, we like to think that it's what we know, but at the end of the day, it's as easy as asking the person next to you, "Hey, how have you solved this?" And it's just so much easier. So you said you've been a social butterfly all your life. Would you say you've always been confident?
No, hell no.
Tell me about, tell me a story about when you weren't confident, because it's kind of hard to imagine.
Oh, oof, wow. So I've always been the odd one out. Imagine a young Lebanese girl in northern Spain at age 18, in the heart of the Basque country, where everyone speaks Basque and Spanish, and then there's me, right? I clearly am an outlier, and then I'm an outlier in China, I'm an outlier in South Korea, I'm an outlier in most places most of the time. So it might have been a defense mechanism for me,
Mm,
just to be a social butterfly. I'm not sure. This is not something I can answer on a conscious level. On an unconscious level, it might have been some sort of defense mechanism. But I've never actually been absolutely confident in myself up until I've raised my first round of financing.
mm.
Because obviously people tell you a lot of things. They tell you, oh, you're great, you're awesome, you've done this, you've done that. But then when there's a number on it, when you monetize it, when there's just a value that your analytical brain understands, then actually, yeah, maybe you're right. Okay. And this doesn't mean that my way is the right way of feeling about confidence, but this is when I started feeling confidence. Like, hey, people who don't know me, a couple of them have never seen me in person before, ever. And they've just written huge checks. And I feel super, this must mean that there's something out there that
Yeah.
is worth investing in. And this was the first time I've ever felt confident. And yeah, and I think it's half the battle most of the time. But before that, I would say huge imposter syndrome. I think I'm not the only one. Women really suffer from that, and you probably know it better than I do, having worked with a lot of women before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, no, imposter syndrome is the number one thing that people struggle with. And one of the biggest problems is that everybody thinks it's just them. Like, oh, it's just me that has imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
really, it's like, no, it's actually all of us, and we all struggle with the same thing. And even men too. I work with a lot of men who
yeah.
struggle with that. Yeah, it's such a strange infliction that we all suffer from.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, again, reflecting on your LinkedIn posts and your presence online, it doesn't it's so, I really love the way you do posts, and I'm actually going to start copying your style because I'm like, wow, it's really natural, and it just feels like you're having a conversation, and it doesn't feel like you have an agenda. You're just like posing something like, hey, have you noticed this? Or what are you thinking about this? And like, here are some things that I've noticed, and then you always pose a question at the end, and I really love that because it seems very genuine and authentic, and like you actually do want to have this conversation. And that, of course, comes off as confident because it's relaxed. So yeah, it's really wonderful. But it's strange with the whole imposter syndrome thing, because it also, there is a certain amount of, what would you call it? Like relief, I guess, when you hear that someone as accomplished as yourself struggled with the same thing, because again, it's the story that's in our own mind, like, oh, I'm the weird one. I'm the one that's, having all the problems, but it's not true. Yeah.
Yeah. And also most of us grow up with a lot of, with a lack of role models, right? Especially women, we grew up with lack of role models, like in the entrepreneurship realm, in the realm of STEM, in the realm of leadership across the board, right? So it's not unusual for us to feel like we're not represented and we're odd wherever we are, right? Like in the startup scenery, women get less than 2% of the global funding for startups, right? Which is quite ridiculous if you come to think about it, right? So obviously we grew up without knowing that we're supposed to, or we belong in a certain group, right? And I completely understand. I wouldn't, if I could go back to myself 5 years ago, and I would try to tell myself, hey, don't worry, you'll get there, I would still feel like, I don't belong. I think it's just the process everyone has to go through, and until you have that moment, the screw it moment kind of thing. And